So one thing I did notice when we talked before, and when I read your bio, is that you're a pastor's daughter,
I am. Hmm.
and so am I, PK as
Ah,
well.
you're a
And
PK.
I know, right? And that's something that's not surprising to me because you have this strong, this powerful voice and this deep soul in your voice. But also spiritually, there's always light in everything that you do, your performances, your social media content, everything comes from a really pure place. So, my question is, how do you maintain spiritual integrity in such a cutthroat industry?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think it's really important to be, connected to God and the source in general, because I think what it does as an artist and a musician, I think it's really easy to get caught up in making things about you. But I feel like with artistry, it's more about tapping into the collective and understanding that there are so many artists that came before us and that it's not just about me. And whenever I realize that it's greater than that, that this is just a part of a huge, I don't know how to describe it, but just when I think about music and how it can really just change the course of people's lives. And as cheesy as it may sound, that it's truly a universal language,
Yes.
and how that can really make a difference. It just reminds me that it isn't so much about me, but it's about how I can give back and how I can be a part of humanity in general. And so I think that's what I like to do, to remind myself that it's not just about me. Because it's really easy for you to be like, oh, this is about me and my talent and what I can do, when it's so much greater than that. And when I'm able to tap into that, that's when performances really soar. That's when we can feel the spirit, we can feel the difference, you know what I mean, between somebody who just sounds good technically versus that extra. So yeah, I also do a lot of yoga, and I definitely journal, I pray, I mean, there's just a lot, because I feel like an artist's responsibility that I don't take lightly is to be able to take your feelings, your thoughts, and put them to song. So yeah.
Wow. And you definitely do bring that extra. And that's kind of where when I saw that, I went, I can see that in her. And to that note, when you talked about bringing it, bringing the extra, there are some artists who are really their project is really good. You
Yeah.
can listen, it sounds good, but then their concerts aren't all that great. Or some people are great performers, but the recorded content is not that good. So for you, I kind of heard your project, I played it, I liked it, in the car. But then when I saw you on stage, you explode. You're very petite, but you got this huge voice and you just explode. So my question is, how are you able to nail both? The in studio work and also the stage work.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely always a work in progress, especially for me. I'm very much a live performer. One of the things that I love the most about performing live is that I can only ever perform in that moment one time, right? So there's like not this pressure of perfection, because I know, like, yo, if I crack on this note, oh well, like I have to sing the song once and that's it. Whereas in the studio, you don't have the energy of a live audience.
Mhm.
Um, and I can find myself really getting caught up in trying to make something sound perfect. And so I think that the challenge with me when it comes to the studio is what I do live, which is really be tapped into the moment, as if there aren't 50 takes that I could do for a song. You know what I mean? That this is the one time, and being able to tap into that and enjoy that and being really present, because it's really easy for me to get all, caught in my head like this, this riff wasn't perfect. And one thing that I love is that my producer, he always reminds me that perfection is not the goal, right? Being real and authentic is, and that people will be able to feel the difference. You were mentioning how there are always artists, like sometimes there are artists where you're like, wow, technically they're great, but I feel nothing. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then there may be people that, can be singing off notes, or maybe their voice cracks, but you feel every single thing. And so, I mean, the kind of artist that I strive to be is that you know exactly where I'm at and what I'm feeling, and that you're able to feel the same thing too.
Right. I love it. And okay, so you write, you sing,
Yeah,
and you act.
I do.
So is there one that's a favorite? And then or is there an area that you struggle in more than other? And then how do you tie it all together and keep everything in perspective?
Well, I think I mean, singing is what I've done the most of, right? Like, I think, what book was it where they said that if you have 10,000 hours in something, that like that's what makes you an expert? I mean, I've sung since I was 3. I feel like that's probably the place that I feel the most comfortable. But I feel like acting and writing, they're all just part of who I am. So I can't really separate it. It's just a different way for me to explore my artistry. Um, I definitely think that when it comes to writing, that's probably where I feel the most, I don't even know if it's the most self-conscious, but just like where
Really?
oh, do I really know what I'm doing or whatever else? Yeah, I second guess myself a lot.
Wow.
Um, but I also really enjoy it. And then there's always like, I feel like the universe always finds a way to affirm me that like, oh no, like this is like, you're good at this, like you understand this. Um, I think once again, like it has to do with not taking myself too seriously, but taking what I do seriously. When I'm able to take the pressure off of it being about me and how I show up, and more like this is something that I love and I want to excel at it because I love the craft, that's when things really come together. So acting also is something that I probably haven't done as much as the singing and the writing, but I enjoy being able to connect to an audience um, as a character. That's just so fun to explore. And so I realized that that's also, it's all such like, it's not, it's interesting, but I think every aspect of my artistry feeds the other.
Yeah, I agree. Now, wide nose, full lips.
Yes.
Yes, I love the title. You know, I have a wide nose and full lips, and
I
so
know that's right.
right. I'm thinking when I was reading about it, you really did hit that target in terms of wow, because that's not something that's always equated with beauty, and that's something where we're contouring our noses, or lining the lips to look different.
Mhm.
So, where did that come from, or and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So it means a whole bunch of things. When I think about wide nose, full lips, it's a love letter to Blackness in general and a love letter to myself. um the years leading up to the album being released, I think I really fell in love with all the things that really make me me. And it was a journey that I needed to go on. And it included embracing all the things that make me me. And what I love about the album is that I think I was just becoming more comfortable in my skin artistically, the vocal choices that I made, not wanting to be perfect yet again, but just being authentic. And I think that comes with loving the imperfections and the things that people have deemed as not beautiful. One thing that really stood out to me when I was thinking about the title of this album was that when I was about 6 years old, I had a family member who told me that I needed to pinch my nose to make it, yeah, more Eurocentric, and that was going to make me more beautiful. And so even though it's not something that I consciously, thought about, it's definitely something that I internalized. And I realized that I had just had a lot of insecurities and self-doubt when it came to my appearance. And I think, having a son and realizing that like the rhetoric is that we're not good enough as we are, that's something that we have to flip the script on. And so also around the time was, Philando Castile and all these different things when like the officer described Philando Castile, he said he had a wide set nose, right? And I'm like, that's black people, that's brown people, like what? And that's the description of a perpetrator. You know what I mean? And so I was just thinking about all these things and wanted to have an album that just celebrated being black in all the ways with melanin and black love and um, just being really comfortable and also knowing the strength that runs through our veins.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, that's where it comes from.
And that's so powerful. And I'm not even sure if you're aware of how impactful it is because when you were talking, I was thinking about, in media, I take a lot of photos and I'll pivot this way or that way so that you're not looking at my nose full
Yeah.
on because that's always been what I considered a flaw. So when
Oh,
I saw that, it's like, wait a minute, that's not a flaw. So it was so important to do that and just as call that out as a beauty trademark or signature of our
That's right.
culture. So
That's
that
right.
was powerful. So the tour.
Yes.
How, first of all, how does it feel to be back performing
Uh,
live after all of this?
it's something that I really don't take for granted, especially because with all that's going on, things can change at the drop of a dime. You know, it's a different world now. It's not the same as it was pre-pandemic, but I don't take any performance for granted. It was quite the drought, okay? Like virtual, you know, I did what I had to do because I had to, but it is not the same as when you have the energy of a live audience and being able to just make that magical moment. I've missed it so much and I'm so thankful to be able to do this again. Like it's really such a blessing, honestly.
Yes. So this tour, what is your main objective for this tour? And are you feeling that, so far in this tour?
Yeah. You know what? That's a really great question. I think my main objective is to really reconnect with folks. I feel like the drought wasn't just on the artist side, but also the audience's side. And I think we are now learning how to navigate the world with COVID, right? And so, one really huge lesson that I think I've had is not underestimating the power of human connection. Um, I think one of my goals definitely with this tour is for us to reconnect. That's
I
really
love that. I love that. And you're so dead on because even before you reached out to me, I had been talking about reaching out. I actually did. I reached out through your website. And
Oh,
I
yes, you
was,
did.
yep, I was so excited. I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity that I'm not going to miss. And pre-pandemic, some in Chicago, somebody's always here. So it's like, yeah,
Wow,
whatever. I'll go. Maybe I'll see. But now there's this feeling of I'm not going to miss this person because I may not get the chance again. I don't know what's going to happen. So
that's right,
there is that two-way reconnection and more of an appreciation for the arts and for what's going on.
for
And
sure.
also watching you, you've been extremely transparent about your social issues and views. You have not been one to bite your tongue.
Right.
And
That's true.
and so my question is, has that had any impact on bookings, relationships, the business when people see where your position is and that you're not afraid to take a stand?
I feel like not there really hasn't been, I would say, any repercussions as far as bookings and whatnot. I'm really thankful that I have like a really awesome manager who is supportive of everything and you know we're partners in this. I think what has been interesting is like people who were fans who will be like, "Oh, you feel like this? Oh, I didn't know. You need to be an entertainer. Just shut up and sing." Like, I don't want to know all that sort of stuff. Like, "Oh, well, maybe you'd reach more people if you didn't, you know, talk about this," or those sort of things where I'm just like, that makes no sense at all. Like, I'm not just here for your entertainment. Like, I'm a whole human being, just like you are. And I would never try to stifle certain aspects of your life just because I know you as this one thing. It just doesn't make much sense. So, um, I feel like also with the pandemic, so many things have changed. You know, with the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I feel like people are actually in a lot of ways more aware, and even if they're not more aware, the swiftness in which they have been dealt with when they say crazy things that were okay to say pre-pandemic, I think has really caused them to think twice before speaking, honestly.
Definitely.
Mm.
Speaking of the pandemic, I think last time we talked, you shared that you worked as a nurse.
Yes.
So that whole experience of being familiar with the healthcare industry and seeing what's going on now, what perspective can you put on that? From even though you may not still be in the industry, you're in entertainment. Some of us are really detached from it, and we're not really being diligent about not spreading this virus. So, coming from that background and understanding the full spectrum of what's happening, how
Right.
how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think that, I know that the vaccines are a very hot topic as far as whether to be vaccinated or not. And I believe that ultimately it is a personal choice. Like nobody can force you to get a vaccine. But what we can do to actually stop the spread of the virus is wear masks. And that is like the basics, and I think what's been really interesting is that people don't want to do anything. And it's like, well, that's a problem, You don't want to get vaccinated? Cool. But actually wearing a mask, washing your hands, like these are actual things that we could have done and that we should have done. I mean, when I think about the numbers, like how many people have died in the last 18 months, it's
Yeah.
astounding. It's astounding. Like, it's so scary when I think about it. And the thing is that it's preventable. That's the thing. Like, it's not that uh a mask really isn't going to prevent you from it, really will, and proper hygiene and social distancing, like those things actually really do work. um and so that's the thing that I would really caution folks. I think people just are so quick to want to get to what things were like pre-pandemic, and especially with the way things are going, we're not that's not where the world is headed. It's never going to go back. We have to see what this new world is and operate within those, within this new world.
Mhm.
um and really care about each other. That's another thing too. Like I feel like I've learned that, man, like we've got a lot of work to do when we think about other people and like our relationship to community and what that means. And um just that there are so many things. Like I think there, people are like, well, it's my right. And I'm like, but like there's, what about your duty to the fellow person, like, and your neighbor and the people that you care about and the elderly and you know what I mean? Like it's just, so yeah, it's
Yeah, I totally get it. Just feeling that level of accountability
yeah,
for doing your part. And that's why I asked, because sometimes people see you as an artist, or like you said, shut up and sing, but they don't really know where you come from, what your background is, what's important to you, and what guides you and drives you. So let's talk about coming to Chicago. Tell
yeah.
me what to expect on September 2nd.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have a blast. I love coming to Chicago, because the audience is always ready. You know what I mean? That like that
I'm telling you, I'm ready.
off of audience participation and whatever else. So, I'll be definitely performing my latest single, All I Want, which is gonna be awesome. Um, I'm just excited to perform. Honestly, we're gonna have a great time, and I hope that everybody will leave with a better sense of connection. That we're not in this by ourselves. I think one thing that the pandemic really may have made us feel like was that like it was so we were so isolated from one another, and I look forward to connecting with you all and with everyone, and that I hope that we leave just a little bit stronger and a little bit more connected.
Love it. I'm ready. I can't wait. So, right before we close, I'd like you to just tell everybody how to get their tickets to be in the room with you live on September 2nd at City Winery.
Absolutely. So most definitely. So you can go to my website, iamsuch.com. You can go to City Winery's website, City Winery Chicago, and just find me. I'm going to be there on September 2nd. You can make sure to follow me on social media. My Instagram is at iamsuch. My Twitter's at such, and you can just search for me on Facebook. But if you follow me, you're gonna, I post about this all the time. And make sure to bring some friends and coworkers and family, because it's gonna be so much fun.
Awesome. I cannot wait. And so, join us, such at City Winery. And that is all I have, unless you have something else you want to share.
Yeah, no, just join us there, join my mailing list so you can know about upcoming tour dates. I'm going to be in DC October 14th, and I have Cancun coming up too, end of October. That's going to be awesome. I know. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Thank
you so much. And I will see you on Thursday.
Yeah. See
Okay.
you.
All right. Bye bye.